tonight I rewatched the film Little Miss Sunshine in kind of a loose series of rewatching or discovering Toni Collette and her wide range of film roles. I saw Little Miss Sunshine pretty soon after it came out. I think it was 2006, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. And remember being really into it, really charmed by it. And I remember it being a very popular movie, kind of like a huge indie hit, and it got nominated for some Academy Awards, and it won Original Screenplay, and Alan Arkin actually won Best Supporting Actor, and Abigail Breslin was nominated for Supporting Actress. Things I remember a lot about it were, like, it was an early movie role for, like, Steve Carell while he was just getting settled in on the Office, and you were seeing him in a more serious role. Now, he's comedic in this movie. He does some funny things and says some funny things, but it's, it's a character with some dark, things about him. Suicidal, depressed, things like that. Rewatching it now, I think for the most part this movie holds up a lot. There are things about it that don't, and I'll touch on it, but it can teeter on being, I think kind of because of how popular it was and how well received it was and how many people were talking about it, it got some backlash on being too cutesy, too indie, little like that. And it does teeter on that edge. And I think with maybe a lesser cast, it would fall off the edge. But I think this was a really kind of special collection of people in this, and they cast it, I think, pretty perfectly. I'm not the world's biggest, Greg Kinnear guy. I'm not the world's biggest Alan Arkin guy, but, they're good in it. I love Toni Collette. I love Steve Carell. Abigail Breslin deserved an Oscar nomination for this. She was very good. Paul Dano, I've always liked every time I see him, and this was kind of my introduction to him, was this movie. His character's kind of like he's the vow of silence, philosophy, Nietzsche guy, Karl Marx. No, not, I don't know where I got that from, but anyways, Marx is probably another guy that character would really like and read a lot. Again, his character kind of teeters on the edge of making your eyes roll a little bit. The edgy teen, the vow of silence, the I hate my family stuff. Paul Dano sells it, but I think watching it now as I was probably a middling teenager when I saw it, and now I'm 28 years old, and I see things a little bit differently now and whatnot, and sympathize more with people you might not have sympathized with more. Greg Kinnear is kind of a not so good of a dude at the beginning of the movie, and they all of the characters have to go through some changes. Toni Collette and Abigail Breslin don't really change very much, but everybody else does. Alan Arkin has the biggest change. He dies, and that leads me to the thing that I don't necessarily like about the movie is his I'm edgy grandpa stuff. He can be very sweet. His character is very sweet when he wants to be, but I don't like the whole thing where he's I can say what I want. I'm old, and I'm just gonna be I don't know, needlessly gross about the sex stuff in the car. Again, I think there's a way to introduce stuff like that in a movie and be clever and funny. And maybe that's not what the intention was in this scene. Maybe it was the filmmaker trying to show you that this guy isn't a very good dude, and he can be when he wants to be, but he can also be a real ass. And he is a lot of the times, and obviously struggles with heroin, but he can also be very sweet. And so I think maybe that's just the way of making him three-dimensional, showing you how frustrating and annoying he can be, but also very sweet later when he kind of comforts Abigail Breslin's character when she's having doubts about herself and about the pageant. Um, so, if the intention of that scene where he's talking to Paul Dano about, I'll have sex with as many women as you can, and all this kind of stuff about him at the you know, the old folks home and whatever, if the intention of that scene is just for like slapping your knee humor, I don't know if it works. If it's to show you that he is a flawed individual and, you know, uncomfortable, if you were in that van with them, you wouldn't be laughing, you wouldn't be going, oh, that guy's crazy. You'd be like, dude, grandpa, shut up, please. So I don't know. But I think the rest of the movie works. I think it's yes, it's cutesy, yes, it's a little, you know, things fall into place for everybody. Or not fall into place for everybody, but everything, you know, just kind of gets swept under the rug. Like, Craig Kinnear's job is in the toilet. Paul Dano's dreams are in the toilet. Steve Carell, you know, he's in love with this guy and he doesn't love him back, and he tried to kill himself and all this stuff. So nobody's really happy, but they become closer as a familial unit, and learn to appreciate each other more. The music, much like with About a Boy, I didn't talk about a Boy on the channel, but About a Boy has this amazing soundtrack by Badly Drawn Boy, and a lot of the music in this movie is from a band called Devotchka. There's some Sufjan Stevens, and then a lot of the incidental music is by Michael Dana, and it's amazing. It's so beautiful. It really adds to the enjoyment of the movie. It adds to the kind of the bittersweetness of it all, and so I do think, and Toni Collette is not, she kind of hangs out in the background of this movie a little bit, because she's not the, like, well, she's not, you know, Abigail Breslin, who the story is about. She's not the heroin addicted grandpa. She's not the suicidal brother slash uncle. And she's not, she's just kind of the one trying to keep it all together. She's the one trying to keep the rails from spinning off. And so she doesn't have the big flashy scenes, but she's always, you know, she's a steady rock in this movie, both the character and her performance. And I would recommend Little Miss Sunshine to anybody who enjoys dysfunctional family stuff that can be very somber but very funny, often in the same scene. In fact, I think the funniest scene, and I'm gonna wrap up here soon because I'm over 8 minutes. The funniest scene to me is when they smuggle Alan Arkin's body out of the hospital and throw it in the back of the trunk, or the trunk of the van. I still think that's funny. Just like leading up to I know they're gonna do it. You know, I know this scene, I know this movie, and I'm just like kind of giggling along as they build up to work themselves up to stealing the body. So that's that. Solid movie, solid rewatch. That is Little Miss Sunshine.